Welcome to the video suggestion of my top 10 most powerful Sith Lords, or in my opinion, who I think the top 10 most powerful Sith are. Now, originally this was a top 5, but I really had a hard time narrowing it down, so I decided to make it a top 10. Real quick before we begin, I would like to say that as far as power is concerned, that's a very subjective thing. So I've taken into account their accomplishments, their dueling skills, and their power in the Force, and I've put them all together into what I guess you could call power, or the things that I find to be the most powerful in the Sith Lords, and in this order of just the order that I think it should be in. Of course, this is just my opinion. If you differ with me, that's fine. Of course, it's a top 10 list. I would be surprised if anyone really agrees with me completely. So let's go ahead and get started with the number 10 spot. For number 10, I went with Darth Plagueis purely because of his skills in the Force. Now, while he's not a really accomplished duelist, he's still very powerful in the Force and really a pioneer, of course, with his experiments with the midichlorians. He also is really the one responsible for the Empire and all the things that led up to the Empire, and he also trained one of, if not the most powerful Sith Lord of all time, in Darth Sidious. So Plagueis really deserves this number 10 spot and really deserved to be on this list. Let's go ahead and talk about number 9. At number 9, I selected Marka Ragnos, who was really a great duelist and powerful in the Force. In fact, he was able to live on after his death and even influenced Exar Kun and really made him and Ulic Qel-Droma Sith Lords, and even before his death and after, he was really influencing everything. One of the most powerful Sith, very powerful in the Force, great dueling skills, and has a lot to do with what has gone on in the galaxy and has had a really big part in shaping the galaxy, not only during the time where he was alive, but he also influenced and plagued the galaxy to some extent after his death, which is why I think he deserved the number 9 spot. At number 8, I have Darth Revan. Not only was he an accomplished tactician and Sith Lord, but also a accomplished Jedi Master later on in life. Very powerful. He also was able to go blow for blow and match Darth Vitiate for a short amount of time, which was really impressive. He was able to defeat Darth Malak, who was a very powerful Sith Lord, and I think that Revan's accomplishments really go without being said. Really great for both the light and the dark, which has made him very impressive, again, in the Force and as a duelist, and also as a tactician during wartime. For number 7, I have the fallen Jedi Darth Plagueis, who was once Jacen Solo, who really, Kylo Ren seems to have taken a lot of the same beats that Jacen Solo went through during his time as a Sith Lord. But Darth Plagueis, very powerful. He's a very crafty Sith Lord. Not only is he powerful in the Force, but he's a great duelist. In fact, Luke Skywalker even said that Darth Plagueis was more powerful than Darth Vader. Now, while I don't necessarily agree with that, and I think that that could be an over-exaggeration, I still think that that coming from Luke Skywalker carries a lot of weight, which is why he's on here, again, with his accomplishments, and overall just a very powerful Sith Lord. And he was even able to defeat Kyle Katarn, in my opinion, one of the most powerful Jedi that have ever lived. Number 6 is Darth Bane. Now, any top 10 Sith Lords list is really incomplete without Darth Bane. Not only is he a powerful duelist and powerful in the Force, he was also able to really kill all of the other Sith Lords that were left and gain all of the dark side energy for himself and another apprentice that he chose. He was so intelligent and so manipulative that he was able to pit the Jedi and the remaining Sith against each other until they wiped out a lot of both. Not all of the Jedi, but all of the Sith, until Bane was the last Sith Lord standing, and he was able to craft the Sith philosophy into what he believes was true. And finally, with this new philosophy, he set up the rule of 2, where there are only 2 Sith Lords, and that eventually is what won Darth Sidious and Darth Vader the galaxy, essentially, with the Empire. It really all leads back to Bane. Now, while Plagueis had a big part in that, Bane was the one that really set up like the first dice, if you really want to look at it that way. So number 5, I have Darth Vader, the most famous Sith Lord of all time. As far as we're concerned, I think his accomplishments really go without being said, but what personally I find Darth Vader to be so interesting is that as Anakin Skywalker, he was this prodigy, and he had all of that taken away. Now what Vader did is he built himself up from the ground up. He basically had lost everything. He'd lost all of his limbs. He'd lost a lot of his skin, and really nobody thought that he would be able to come back. I mean, Obi-Wan just left him there. but he did. He built himself back up, and he was able to become 8/10 of what Sidious was as far as force power goes, which is really, really impressive. Darth Vader goes without being said, number 5 spot. Number 4 is Exar Kun. Now, Exar Kun is my favorite duelist, maybe of all time, simply because he constructed such a unique lightsaber. It was dual-bladed, but the hand grip was only meant to accompany one hand, which means that when he would engage other people in lightsaber duels, he would just overwhelm them utterly. Very powerful in the Force. He even lived on to plague Luke's Jedi's order after he had been essentially what people thought was killed and imprisoned, but he really did live on. He just is really interesting, powerful duelist. I believe that he can really take apart almost everyone that he really ever came across in a lightsaber duel. Very powerful, very different lightsaber fighting technique, and again, I said he's very powerful in the Force as well. Number 3 is Darth Vitiate, or Emperor Vitiate. Now, this is someone who you simply can't kill. He's very powerful in the Force. Not the greatest duelist, but extremely powerful in the Force. He was able to turn Darth Malak and Darth Revan to his side, of course giving them the title of Darth, and they really plagued the universe. Emperor Vitiate, very powerful. Like I said, Revan really dedicated himself to taking out Vitiate, and in the end, he really wasn't able to complete that, and that's Darth Revan, someone else who has been, of course, featured on this list earlier. Emperor Vitiate, very powerful. Every time you killed him, you would find out that you didn't kill him, and he was able to form his own Sith Empire after he had supposedly been destroyed, but of course, we figured out that he had not. He was able to form another empire and become even more powerful, and that is why he is number 3 as Emperor Vitiate, or Darth Vitiate. So we have reached the final 2. So at number 2, I picked Darth Krayt. Not only is he a great duelist, he's powerful in the Force. Again, this is the man, or a man, who has done everything. He went from being a Tusken Raider to a Jedi Master, to a bounty hunter, back to Tusken Raider, or vice versa for those two. And then finally a Sith Lord who created the one Sith, meaning that he was the main Sith, and that while there were other Sith present in the galaxy, that they all served him and served his goals. And not only did he was basically assumed to be dead after he was betrayed by Darth Warlock, he came back, defeated Darth Warlock, plagued the universe, or the galaxy, excuse me, and just overall, he's my favorite Sith Lord of all time, and very powerful, like I said. Great duelist, powerful in the Force, learned a lot of really non-conventional Force abilities that he could use against others, like Shatterpoint, stuff like that. Very, very knowledgeable Sith Lord, again, taking into account their accomplishments and their knowledge, not just their dueling prowess or Force prowess. And I think that Darth Krayt really is the ultimate package, and like I said, my favorite Sith Lord for those reasons. So at number 1, we have, in my opinion, the most powerful Sith Lord of all time, and that is Darth Sidious. And that's pretty obvious. I think he's the number 1 spot on a lot of people's lists for good reason. Not only is he a fantastic duelist, mostly because of his power in the Force, but again, his power in the Force is so immense. He was able, basically, with people setting it up before him, single-handedly toppling over the Galactic Republic and forming the Sith Empire, really almost single-handedly, like I said. Great manipulator, powerful in the Force, and in the EU, I know it's no longer canon, but there are non-canon Sith Lords on this list. He became incredibly powerful, so overpowered that Luke Skywalker is the only one that could ever stand toe-to-toe with him at that point in time. Darth Sidious, his power is unmatched by anyone on this list, in my opinion, and very, very few Jedi, maybe even just one Jedi. Darth Sidious, really fantastic. Sidious's accomplishments are not only impressive because of the accomplishments themselves, but it's also impressive that he was able to do this basically alone and was able to get people to fight against each other, created huge wars just so he could further his own goals and further his own power. And he is really the embodiment of the dark side, someone who tries to learn as much as they can, very, very greedy, very powerful, and at the same time, very smart. And that is why he's the number 1 and who I think is the most powerful Sith Lord of all time. Of course, this is just my opinion and the order I selected to put them in. I know I missed a lot of really classic Sith Lords that I love, and I'd also like to say that just because they're on my most powerful list doesn't necessarily mean that they're my favorite, and I tried to remain unbiased in this list. So anyway, leave your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Who do you guys think the top 10 most powerful Sith Lords are of all time? If you'd like more videos like this, go ahead and suggest it in the comment section down below. I really appreciate you watching, and if you disagree, I hope that you at least enjoyed the video and some of the brief commentary that I had to say about these Sith. I would love to come back later and go more in depth on each and every one, and hopefully one day I will have been able to. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.